Sex, money, and power. This is what most men want and desire. And if you're a man who says you don't want those things, you're probably full of shit. Now, the crazy thing is you can have 2 times, 3 times, 5 times, 10 times more sex with your wife. Even if you've been together for years or decades, even if the relationship has gone stale. How do I know this? Because there are 3 simple strategies that we have used with over 850 men to not only fix their marriages, but to actually have their wives wanting to please them, have sex, and actually beg for more. And these 3 strategies work every single time. Now, before I share them with you, you must understand one thing. What I'm about to share with you is absolutely life-changing, and it is extremely simple when you break it down, but it's not easy to implement. And realistically, only 1% of men will actually achieve these things. So if you want to be a 1% man, a man who is dominating in business, marriage, and life, a man who is appreciated, respected, and desired, a man who is having loads of fun, loads of success, and loads of sex, which means loads of something else, then this podcast episode is for you. This is a topic that's very dear to my heart because I'm a man, I'm on TRT, I've got high testosterone, I want to have sex. I also want to make money, I want to provide, I want to be a great leader to my wife, a man she appreciates and desires. I want to be a great role model to my daughter and show her what it's like to have a great relationship between her parents, which I didn't have because mine separated when I was 4 years old. In my relationship with my wife, Rosie, we've had these constant ups and downs for the first 5 years of the last 7, where we had bouts of not having sex. There were things that got in the way, like her constantly being tired, her being stressed or triggered, arguments, and disconnection. I know firsthand what it's like to be making love to your partner and it doesn't feel like she wants to be there. As a man, that eats away at your confidence. Doesn't matter how successful you are, when you're making love to your partner and she's not into it, or she doesn't want to be a part of it, or she's doing it just because you want her to, or because you're angry at her for not doing it, that's a massive problem. And what I found in my relationship with Rosie was these 3 simple principles that completely changed the game. Because ultimately, I was a massive victim in that relationship when it came to sex. I thought because I was working hard and making money and providing, she should provide me with, in return, the things that I wanted, sex, pleasure, etc. That was my love language, which we're about to get into in a second. It wasn't until I stopped being a victim and implemented these 3 strategies that everything turned around. And ironically enough, it elevated my success in my business, in my mindset, in my personal health, in my mental health, as well as in my relationship with my wife. So I'm going to dive into what these are for you right now, but I just want you to know that I've been there, I understand this problem and this challenge, and whether you like it or not, sex and intimacy and physical connection are an extremely important part of relationships. The first simple strategy here is to do something we call elevating perception. Perception is the way that the world sees you. My wife has a perception of Tony, your wife has a perception of you. Your team members, staff, children, they all see you in a completely different way. You might show up the same way for 2 different people, and they might have different opinions on how you're showing up, what you look like, how they feel about you, what they think about you. Your wife has a perception of how she sees you. And for so long in my relationship, my wife's perception was the stressed, angry, and triggered guy. She would see that version of me after a work day. She would see me bring my stress and pressure home. The next perception she had was a man who was needy, a man who almost begged for sex or wanted it so badly he was willing to go above and beyond to receive it. We talked to a client who joined our program a few months ago, and he would literally pay his wife for sex. He wouldn't directly do it by giving her money, but he would buy her bags and things she wanted, and he built a social contract in his relationship where the perception she had was if he gave her something, she would give something in return, and it became like a bartering system. I was a massive victim in my relationship. When Rosie would not give me the sex that I wanted, she would be tired at the end of the day, I would go into victim mentality, turn the other way in the bed and get pissed off and triggered because she wasn't meeting my needs or desires. So what we want to do is we want to give our partner a perception of us where they appreciate us, respect us, and they want to give intimacy and sex. It's not something we ask for. It's not something we beg for. They go out of their way to give it to us because they desire to. It's a need, it's a want, it's something they want to give to us. The first way you can elevate perception is by removing the victim mentality. So many high performance men judge their partner, judge their team, judge their children, judge the world, and in doing so, they actually fall into a victim mentality. It's the wife's fault that I'm not getting laid. It's her fault that she's tired. It's her fault she doesn't desire me. Then we reference evidence for why that is true. The evidence is I work hard and provide. I buy her nice things. We have a great house. I bought her a nice car. I've given her everything she needs, everything she wants, and she's still not giving me what I want. And this victim mentality prevents us from seeing the truth. The truth being that when you take ownership of your sex life, when you take responsibility, which I've talked about in many podcasts, of whether or not you're getting laid or are getting laid, that's when you start to change. This will hurt, and maybe you'll disagree with it. Maybe you'll comment down below and go, fuck you, this doesn't work. Act like it's your fucking fault. If you're not intimate with your partner, if you're not getting laid, if you're not getting what you want in the relationship, act like it's your fucking fault. I'm not saying it is your fucking fault. I'm not saying your partner doesn't have a role to play. I'm not saying she's not responsible for how she shows up in the relationship. But as a man, if you act like it's your fucking fault, then the only person who can fix it is you. Now you can influence your partner to play a role in that, but ultimately it's on you to fix the problem. Obviously there are exceptions here, right? A lot of people will comment down below saying, my wife's just not a sexual person. She's got hormone issues. She's got this, she's got that. Yes, there are a small percentage of women on the planet who genuinely don't have sex drive, just like there are a small percentage of men. But that's like saying, I can't lose weight because I've got fat genes. It's a massive bullshit excuse. A tiny 0.1% percentage of people have a disease where they can't lose weight. The rest of the people just eat too much fucking food. And it's the exact same in our relationships. When you blame your partner for the lack of sex, her perception of you sees you as the victim. And what women want is a responsible, assertive leader and man. That's what attracts most women. Which leads to the second point of elevating perception. Be the fucking man. Ultimately, become the best fucking man you can be. A man that she cannot compare to anyone else because you're the fucking best. Most men are pussies. I was one for years. I used to drink, I used to smoke weed, I used to play video games, I used to get upset and triggered, I used to blow up at my wife and get angry at my family. I wasn't the fucking man, but we've associated being the fucking man with making money and providing. Being the fucking man means mastery in all of the key 3 areas. You have your health, you have your wealth, and you have your relationships. If you want more sex and to increase the perception of your partner in the relationship, it begins with you mastering all 3 of these areas. It is virtually impossible for your partner not to appreciate, respect, and desire you when you are healthy physically. You don't have a gut preventing you from seeing your dick. You don't feel fat or overweight. You have a 6-pack, or maybe not a 6-pack. You just look lean and healthy. You look like a Greek god. A lot of men are going to listen to this. Maybe you're one of them and you are overweight, you're unhealthy. How can you expect a woman to want that? Now, some women might say they want that, but it's very, very fucking untrue. I'm not saying if you're overweight that I'm not trying to diss you or mock you. I'm saying if you want to be the man and be perceived in the right way, you gotta look fucking good. You gotta have the energy to get through a day. You gotta be able to stay hard and get hard. You gotta be able to mentally be in control of your thoughts and feelings and triggers. You gotta be able to show up calm and patient and not react. You gotta be able to communicate well, know when to use the right tonality, know when to speak, and know when to shut up, know when to listen, and know when to be assertive. Now, if you're not physically and mentally healthy, if you don't know how to communicate well, if you don't know how to meet your wife's desires, or get vulnerable, or be strong in the face of adversity, or how to deal with stress, then how the fuck can you expect your partner to perceive you in a positive light? Now, I said at the beginning of this video, this is hard. It's simple to exercise, eat well, control thoughts. We teach this in our Empowered Man program. However, it's not easy because it's going to require radical change for a lot of us. And I'll be the first to put my hand up and say I was here. Like, I was very unhealthy. I was very unhappy. I was out of control in my thoughts. I wasn't the best man I can be. I've been there. But if your wife's perception is a guy that doesn't look good, doesn't feel good, brings anger, stress, anxiety, pressure into the household, then why would she want to be around you or sleep with you? That's a very negative energy. What is your partner's perception? Are you the fucking man in health, wealth, and relationships? Not just making money and providing. Are you the man in every area? Which leads to the next part of elevating perception, which is never beg for sex. Never beg for it. Never ask for it. It should be something that happens organically. Now, you can have a conversation about how often you'd like to have it. You can have a conversation about how it doesn't happen as often as you'd like and figure out why that is showing up for her. But most of the time, it's because of how you are actually being perceived. Never beg for it. Women don't want begging. They want a strong, confident man who they want to be around. And when you combine all these things and change her perception of you by understanding how she sees you currently into the man she wants to be around, the Brad Pitt, the Chris Hemsworth, you don't have to look like him to be that guy. You got to figure out how to elevate her perception of you so she sees you in a light, positivity. She appreciates you, she respects you, she loves you, and she wants to please you. She's literally begging for more because that makes you feel good. In my current relationship with my wife, after 7 years together, didn't happen overnight, she wants to give me those things. She might be tired at the end of the day, but she'll go above and beyond because she knows that I have needs and desires, and because I meet so many of her needs and desires, she then reciprocates naturally. It doesn't happen all the time, but it happens a lot more frequently than it used to, and enough for me to be happy in the relationship. The second simple strategy here is to fill her love bank. How do you get her to want to give you these things? Well, you make her feel loved. I've talked about this in previous videos and podcasts, but today I'm going to dive much deeper into two core principles of filling a love bank. The first one is laser focus, and the second one is the 5 love languages. I've done podcasts on both, so I'll get my team to drop those down below. The first one is laser focus. If you think about your wife or partner like a bank, if you go into that bank and try and withdraw $10,000, $50,000, $1 million, but there is not enough money in the bank. There's $5, $10, or $100. You're either going to not be able to take money out, or you're going to withdraw money and go into overdraft. You're going to accumulate a debt to that bank. Well, it's the exact same in our personal relationships. This applies to every relationship, not just our wife. But in the frame of sex and intimacy and connection, if we try and withdraw sex, which is like money in terms of love, then our partner will often not be able to give that to us because their balance is empty. Their love bank is empty. There are 5 types of different love that you can give your partner to fill their love bank. There is love, that's whatever it means to them. We often don't even know what that means to our partner. Appreciation. Appreciation to her is going to be very different to appreciation for you. Appreciation for you might be working hard, growing the business, and feeling like she can see what you're doing. For her, it might be something she does around the house. Then we have support. How do you feel supported by each other? We have understanding and we have respect. Love, appreciation, support, understanding, and respect. It spells laser focus. Yes, it's spelled the wrong way. Now, the crazy thing about this is, if you try and give your partner appreciation, support, understanding, and respect, you might have noticed sometimes that they don't feel it. Like, you go above and beyond. You clean the house, you help with the kids, you make the money, you say something nice, you send her flowers, and she either doesn't notice it, she doesn't care, or she's upset about something else. This happens because both of you have different meanings of each of these words. So to be able to fill your partner's love bank, you've first got to understand, what does love mean to them? What does appreciation mean to them? What does support mean to them? What does understanding mean to them? And what does respect mean to them? And then how does that differ from what those words mean to you? Words and language are powerful, and because you're two different people with different upbringings, different mindsets, different worldviews, you're going to have different thoughts and feelings around each of those words. So the first step here to fill the love bank is understanding, what do those mean to you? I found out in my relationship that I feel respected when my wife doesn't question my decisions. I feel appreciated when she tells me she can see me working hard in the business. But she feels appreciated when I help her with my daughter. Now, to me, that's not appreciation. When she's had a long day and she's tired and I take my daughter up to bathe her, that's appreciation to my wife. They're two completely different things. The second part of filling the love bank and raising that balance so she wants to give you something back is called the 5 love languages. Now, you may have heard of this before, but no one really explains it well, and no one gives you tools to implement it right away. So I'm about to do that right now. The 5 love languages are the 5 different ways that most people feel love, appreciation, support, understanding, and respect. They're 5 different modalities or ways of giving those things. The first way is called words of affirmation. It means saying it, speaking it, or writing it. So your partner might feel appreciated if you tell her that she's doing a good job. I know in my relationship, that doesn't work for my wife. It works for me, it doesn't work for her. So words of affirmation is speaking it, saying it, or writing it to them in a text or a love note. The second type of love language is acts of service. It's doing something for your partner, helping out with the kids, picking them up from school, working hard for your family. It's an act of service. It's the act of doing something for them. It could simply be opening the door for them when they get out of the car and being a gentleman, or standing up and not eating dinner before they sit down to eat it with you. The third is physical touch. This is one most men feel. This is what this whole video is about. We are physical creatures. If you touch me in a certain place and you're my wife, I'll get aroused. For most men, it simply takes a touch or two and we get hard, we get horny, and we want to fucking go. Women are completely different. Most women don't have physical touch very high up in their love language hierarchy. So physical touch is touching, holding hands, kissing, sex, anything physical. The fourth one is quality time. Quality time is the quality of the time you spend together. There's the quantity, so how long do you spend together? And there's the quality. You can spend hours with your partner, but if you can't switch off, you're thinking about work and you're not communicating, that's not quality time. What Rosie and I used to do is sit on opposite ends of the couch, scrolling on our phones. That's not quality time. Quality time is the quantity and the quality of the time you spend together. My wife used to not care about this one at the beginning, but the busier I got in business, the more I grew the team, the more she felt like I wasn't there with her, and the more she wanted quality time with Tony. And the fifth one is gifts. It's buying them something, a car, flowers, something thoughtful, giving them a gift of some sort, which a lot of people don't appreciate, some people do. I know my wife loves gifts. So what you notice about these love languages is that there's going to be a hierarchy of the most important one to the least important. There's 5 of them. You want to order for you which one's the most important, the second most important, third, fourth, and fifth. And then you want to find out either by asking or guessing. I recommend you ask, what are your partner's love languages? What's their hierarchy of importance? Is it words of affirmation first, or do they love quality time? Do they hate gifts and those don't work for them? And again, this is complicated. You've got 5 different modalities: love, appreciation, support, understanding, and respect. And you've got to find out how to give your partner those things using their love languages. You got to find out how to speak their language, even though it might not be your language, which requires effort, it requires thinking, it requires being open-minded, and it requires consistency. But if you do this consistently, you consistently give her the things she wants, and you don't expect anything in return. You do it because you're the fucking man. You improve the perception she has of you. And then because her love bank gets so full from all these daily deposits you're making into that bank, she's gonna be so full of love, appreciation, support, understanding, respect. Naturally, she's gonna wanna give you that back. And this is how it works every single time. Most men go, that's not fair. Why do I have to? Because that's what men do. Men fucking lead. If you're healthy, strong, wealthy, you show up and you give her all the things a woman wants, guess what? She's gonna wanna give you something back. And the third simple strategy here is to start dating her again. Start making your relationship a priority. We teach this to all of our Empowered Man clients. We have guys who make $1 million a year, $10 million a year. We have a few clients that make over $100 million a year. We work with high-performing men who are crushing it and successful in business, but their health and relationships are falling apart. And do you know what the number one problem is that they experience? They invest 10 hours, 12 hours a day into working, 40, 50, 60, 80 hours a week into work. You know how much time they spend on their relationship? Not in their relationship, on their relationship? 0, 1, maybe 2 hours a week. There is a massive disconnect between the priority of work, providing for the family, and working on your relationship. And I get it. It's hard because you have children, you work, you provide, you're busy, you have no time. And any spare time that you do have, you're tired from the workday, you can't switch off, it's difficult to connect with your loved ones. That happened to me as well. I'd finish a long day and I'd struggle to switch off, so I couldn't really communicate with my wife. I didn't have the energy to play with my daughter. But the problem here is if you don't make the time for your partner, then that spark that originally existed, it begins to disappear. Think about the beginning of your relationship. You did things completely differently. You went on dates. You used to eat out together. You used to just hang out and do nothing, not scroll on phones. You used to experience things together. You used to go to movies or whatever the fuck it was you did. That begins to disappear, and then we wonder why the sex disappears as well. So many men I work with, they say, yeah, at the beginning we were having loads of sex and it just died down. I don't know why. What do you mean you don't know why? You've got children now. They sleep in the bed. You have less time. You're busy all the time. You're tired. There are many reasons why. What you want to do to make your relationship a priority and start dating each other again is make a list of the excuses that are preventing you from doing that. For me, that list was simple. I have no time. We have a daughter now. We've got no one to help us. When our daughter was born, for the first 2 years, we had no support from family or friends. I don't know what to do. She doesn't want to communicate with me. There's a list of excuses. I don't have time was the biggest one of why we're not dating. And then once we found that list, we moved to the second part, which was utilizing support networks. So writing a list of all the things you can do to support you in dating each other again. And this doesn't need to be complicated. You can start off with one day, one lunch or one dinner a week. It can be an hour or two where it's just you two and you're present. And you go and do fun shit. You experience life. You go and do pottery. I think my wife booked pottery for this weekend. You go to a movie. You go and play mini golf. You go and have fun together. Go do cool shit and utilize the support networks. If you don't have family around, do you have friends that can help? If you don't have friends, can you invest in a babysitter? If you can't invest in a babysitter, can you put them in daycare and go and have lunch together? Now, obviously, you might be listening to this and not have the funds to do that, but there's always solutions if you look for them. So many men just go, nah, we're not having sex, we don't have time. What they're really saying when you take ownership and responsibility is, I haven't made my relationship a priority. You want to start acting like you're teenagers again. You're experiencing life together. You start dating, having fun, and enjoying life. When you spend quality time together and you laugh together and you have fun, that creates a spark. It creates this intimacy. It creates this connection that naturally goes into sexual tension. It builds sexual energy and sexual tension because you're experiencing life together and enjoying the fucking process. Now, this is hard to do if you've got a business or you're working hard, but it's about making the time. And guess what? Your business won't burn down. Your life won't end. It will actually make everything so much better. Ultimately, all of these things come together, and it starts with the perception you have from your partner. You elevate your perception and how she sees you by filling her love bank, by making daily deposits. You elevate the perception your partner has of you by dating her and making her a priority and putting her up on a pedestal. That doesn't mean you fucking be a victim and you let her walk all over you. That's not what a man does. It means you treat your woman like a queen. And you can't treat your woman like a queen if you're not the fucking man and you're not a king. All of this begins with the man in the mirror. And the reality is, when you elevate perception, when you fill her love bank and make daily deposits by using love languages and laser focus, and when you start dating again and making her a priority, you become a 1% man. Most men don't do this shit. They think working hard and making money and getting her flowers is enough. It's not. When you become this guy, no one can fuck with you. Your wife will never cheat. She'll never leave because you're the best man you can be. And most men are pussies, victims, and not showing up in their relationships. It pisses me off so much because I used to be this guy, so it's easy for me to talk shit, but so many men are stuck in this victim mentality and they wonder why they're not getting laid from their wife. It's not because of how long you've been together. It's not because of some random reason. It's because you're not doing these things. And I promise you, if you do this for a month, 2 months, 3 months, you're gonna start to see changes. And if you don't, then maybe she's the problem. Maybe you're not right for each other. Maybe that's the hardest thing you'll ever have to go through. You're not going to continue in that relationship. But for most men, this works almost every single time. So I hope you got value from this. If you did, just understand you can have it all in your life. You can have a thriving business that spews out cash while also having loads of time. You can have a relationship where your wife looks at you with appreciation, desire, and respect. You can be healthy and happy, a leader and role model for your children. You can have it all in health, wealth, relationships. And if you currently don't know how to do that, then these steps will help you immensely, but it helps so much to have coaching and a roadmap and a plan. So down below this video, there'll be a link where you can book a coaching session with myself and my team, and we'll literally build out the custom roadmap for you on how to become that king for your queen, how to fix your marriage, reconnect with your children, and find work-life balance. Because ultimately, what's the point of being successful and making money if you're not getting laid, you're disconnected from your wife, and you lose your family in the process? So if you want to become a better man and you want a roadmap, go down below and book a session with our team. And if you got value from this, make sure you give it a thumbs up, 5 stars wherever you're listening, and feel free to share your thoughts down below. I'll see you for the next episode of the Empowered Man podcast.